Good Friday evening to you. Thanks for joining More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. A busy show with plenty to get to. We're going to talk some Indians from Goodyear, Arizona. We will check in a tribe getting set to start Cactus League play tomorrow. We will talk Cleveland sports ownership as well. And we will meet a local NASCAR driver who drove in the Daytona 500. But we're going to begin things off with Browns. As the Combine is getting set to begin, we are going to take a look at some of the guys you should keep an eye on, guys that could be that number 17 pick for the Browns, the first round, the 17th overall pick. And we're going to welcome in Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report. Jake, take us through this Combine later this week. What should we be looking for? Who are some names to remember?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. I think the Browns' plan and how they're going to construct everything is still a little bit foggy. We're not entirely sure with free agency how things will shake out and what their intentions will be at 17. But some good names to keep an eye on, I think, is certainly going to be DK Metcalf, the kid out of Ole Miss, who I think is a fantastic wide receiver. Big guy, 6'4", 220, very built, very sound in terms of his size and his ability to separate at the wide receiver position. With that size combination makes him a deadly player, one that the Browns might feel they need to add to the wide receiver room as that true number one target. They could do that through the draft with Metcalf. Ed Oliver out of Houston, the defensive tackle, tons of talent, not overly big, but that type of speed off the ball, interior pressure talent that you really need and covet. Think a little bit smaller with the potential to be somebody like Aaron Donald that we saw for the Los Angeles Rams. He's a name to keep an eye on if he falls down draft boards a little bit due to size and some people looking for quarterbacks, things like that. I think that if he falls to 17 or close to it, the Browns will be compelled to find a way to get him on their roster. And then lastly, another interior defensive player, because I think the Browns really need to improve upon the defensive line interior-wise beside Larry Ogunjobi, is Clemson's Christian Wilkins. He's just a really sound football player, super intelligent, stayed at Clemson all 4 years. I think he was the academic Heisman winner. He's just everything you want an interior player. Can defend the run, good enough against the pass, strong, quick, just really productive as well. So I think that those three are the names that I'm keeping an eye on right now. There are other names that will pop up as the time comes and we get closer to it and have an idea what their needs are. But as far as things sit right now, those are the three big names that I'm keeping a close eye on with testing numbers in Indianapolis.
You look at DK Metcalf, and his uncle is Eric, who played for the Browns. Different player. This is a kid that's put together, 6'4", and he will impress at the Combine just from his physical stature alone.
Yeah, when you think of a guy that's similar to, I know we don't want to talk about him because he's no longer with us, but Josh Gordon, you're getting that same type of player, the long stride, big physical body, can eat up grass when he's taken off downfield. And, he has maybe some nuance issues with route running, but those are things that Adam Henry, the Browns wide receiver coach, Jarvis Landry, those guys can work with him on. You don't get that kind of big physical skill guy who can go up and get the football, that big red zone target people love to talk about. It's an all-in-one type of player. He is coming off a pretty serious neck injury that cut his last season there at Ole Miss short. But I think that based on reports, it sounds like he's going to pass all of those with flying colors in Indianapolis. So he is one to pay attention to if the Browns don't acquire a number one receiver. I know a lot of people talk Odell Beckham. If they don't have the ability to acquire somebody big time there and they want to expand on that room, that's the name to keep an eye on.
And Jake, you wrote a really interesting article that's up on cleveland.com about the free agent wide receiver. So if people want to go look at that, they can look at that. What area do you think the Browns need to address in order to get where they want to be as a team, which is the playoffs, and to make a run in the playoffs even?
Yeah, great question. I think that they're going to have to attack improving offensive skill as much as they can. I think the NFL is so offensive driven these days that it's going to make sense for them to improve upon what they have. I think that they have enough talent there to win games that they proved in the last half of 2018. But if you can add one playmaker to the group, a big-time playmaker, that'll really take this group to another level. I certainly think there's justification for needing to improve the defensive line. Myles Garrett, defensive end there, and Larry Ogunjobi played among the most snaps in the NFL this year. Some of that's due to the overtime games that they played, but some of that's due to a lack of rotational players that Greg Williams trusted. Now, Steve Wilks comes in as the defensive coordinator. I think we can expect to see more rotation, so they're going to need to improve, certainly going to need to improve upon the interior defensive line next to Larry Ogunjobi. They could possibly benefit from another pass rusher opposite Myles Garrett, as Emmanuel Ogbah hasn't quite produced the way we hope he did. He's going to be in a contract year, so it'll be a big year for him. And then lastly, linebacker play. I think that they need to improve. Outside of Joe Schobert, the Browns had one of the worst tackle rates in the NFL in 2018. They have to improve upon their linebacker play, whether that's a bounce back year from Christian Kirksey, moving on from Jamie Collins. I'm not entirely sure. It's not a great overall draft class for linebackers, but there are some fun names that are set to hit the free agent market. Somebody like Jordan Hicks out of Philadelphia, amongst many other names. CJ Mosley from Baltimore might hit the market, but we're not entirely sure how that'll pan out. But they can improve certainly through free agency at the linebacker spot.
Let me ask you that as the last question I'll ask you. Which area do you think you attack in free agency? Which area is stronger in the draft? What do you attack draft-wise as we get ready for the Combine coming up?
Good question again. I think the defensive end is loaded in free agency, so I expect them to add some defensive ends, maybe even two. I do expect them to add along the interior as well. There are some really fun names along the interior. Keep an eye on Henry Anderson out of New York, the Jets' big defensive tackle that they might not be able to bring back. That's just an interesting name. But the good part is the draft is really loaded with talent along the defensive interior and outside too. So those are two positions that I think the Browns have good options to solve in those two spots. I don't expect the Browns to attack a free agent and wide receiver. That might be a draft or trade thing. But linebacker is where I'm going to key in on free agency. I think they're going to bring in one linebacker that they expect to get starting production from in free agency.
Jake Burns, great insight. The Orange and Brown Report, you can read them also on cleveland.com. Look at his article on wide receivers that are free agents. We'll be checking in with Jake as the Combine finishes next week. So, Jake Burns, again, we appreciate it. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Doug Lesmerises will join us. We will talk Cleveland sports ownerships coming up here on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Be sure to stay with us.
The front office, it's not dumb. They know what they're doing. They have a plan. They're really good at what they do, you know, and they have always put us in the best spot to be successful every single year. Sometimes it's going out spending money. Sometimes it's cutting budget, you know, but they're gonna put us in the best spot to be successful, and then it's on us for us to perform. If we don't perform, it don't matter who you got, you ain't going nowhere.
Francisco Lindor talking about the Cleveland Indians front office, a front office and an ownership group that's taken some heat recently because they've cut payroll this year. Got us to thinking, who is the best ownership group in Cleveland, the best front office? And with that, we will bring in Doug Lesmerises, columnist from cleveland.com. And Doug, what do you say? Who is the best ownership group front office in Cleveland?
I don't know that there's a clear number one, because I think if you could take different parts of the different teams, you might end up with a great ownership front office structure. The Browns and the Cavs have two owners in Jimmy Haslam and Dan Gilbert that have spent money. You know, Jimmy Haslam let them spend $16 million on Brock Osweiler so they could get a draft pick that turned into Nick Chubb. And Dan Gilbert did whatever it took financially and, you know, in the end has a title. Now, you know, LeBron James is 99% responsible for that. But I do think money does matter. Now, decision-making matters too. So I think the two teams that have spent the money have made the worst decisions. The Indians have the best decision-makers in the front office with Chris Antonetti and that crew. But you can make the best decisions in the world if you don't have any money to spend. Sometimes being smart isn't enough. So I think all three structures in this city are flawed to some degree and good to some degree. So I think overall the Indians have the best structure, but I also think, when they're in a championship window right now and cutting payroll, you certainly can't look at that and say that's great ownership.
Well, and, it's compounded by the fact that baseball is the one league, one sport where you can spend as much money as you want to spend. So in some ways, baseball fans probably wish they had somebody that would spend all that money running the baseball franchise, because the Indians are one of those organizations, and there's probably 25 of them that can't outspend their mistakes.
And I think Indians fans realize that, right? When you're competing in the American League, and again, we're parsing the Indians to some degree because our complaint is, well, we know they're going to win the division. Well, that's a great thing. That the playoffs are assumed. But at this stage with where they are right now, there's a cliff coming. When you're a small market team like that, you've got to maximize when you have this window, because you're going to fall off a cliff. And I think fans understand that, and you'll rebuild, and that's fine. But you're competing with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and teams with a lot more money than you. And, for fans, it's like, I get it. There's payroll constraints, but they're all rich guys. So, I know it's tough, but how can the Indians be in a spot right now where they're scrimping on the outfield when they have maybe the best rotation in baseball? The money, the money matters, right? Dan Gilbert drives you nuts. The letter about LeBron and the way he's handled general managers, it drives you crazy. But man, sometimes your wallet can do a lot of talking. And I do think when it mattered for the Cavs, Dan Gilbert's wallet did a lot of talking.
Yeah, without question. The challenge with the Cavs and Dan Gilbert is he spent a lot of money on players. But it's been very interesting. When LeBron has been on the Cavs, they've been in the playoffs, and they've won about 67% of the games. When LeBron has not been on the Cavs, they've won about 29% of the games. And those little asterisks, that's when they've had the first overall pick in the draft. So the ping pong ball that brought you LeBron and the fact that he was from Akron is one of the reasons the Cavs have that championship. And Doug, my concern with that is, why haven't you put the infrastructure in place to make basketball decisions? You had a really good guy in Dave Griffin.
Yeah.
And boy, it shouldn't be finals for 4 years in a row, back to the lottery where we might get the first pick, although some would argue that's the way the NBA is.
Yeah, no, I would argue that too. I'm all for win tank, basically in every sport. The best thing Dan Gilbert has done is get lucky. Right? The Cavs have been the luckiest lottery team in the league. And if they didn't have all those first-round picks, they'd be in a very different spot. The problem is, guys like us and a lot of fans, your dream owner is, give us all your money and none of your input. And I wrote that a couple months ago with the Haslam's, hand over the check and go away. And that is just not a realistic thing to do. So I think in Dan Gilbert and Jimmy Haslam, you have guys who will write checks, but then who want to be involved in basketball and football decisions, and are sometimes wary about giving too much power to the sporting decision makers, and are sometimes influenced too much by who's in their ear and making rash decisions with firing people, but they'll hand over the money. The Dolans are not rash. The Dolans are not meddling, but sometimes you'd like a little more of their money. So, there maybe, I don't know who the best owner in sports is, but I imagine it's someone who says, I'm going to do this and this. Here's my money and none of my mouth. And if we could get one of those in Cleveland, I think that'd be the ultimate owner.
Well, we talked a little bit about the Browns and the Haslams, and boy, has it been a challenge to get the right structure in place for the Browns. And it finally seems like they got that right. You see the executives they've gone through. That's since 2010. And if you follow suit with the head coaches, it's usually an equal 1-for-1. So it's been a continuing wheel. And Doug, the ironic thing is they weren't 500 last year, and everybody's thrilled because John Dorsey came in, had a great draft, and now you've got a coach in place that has a tight relationship with a guy that you think is going to be a franchise quarterback. Amazing what those two things can do for a franchise, huh?
Yeah, it seems so simple, right? It's like, why did it take so long? It's easy. The structure, as we've talked and written about ad nauseam, structure with Jimmy Haslam was such a problem. You set up infighting by having coaches and general managers with equal power, both battling for Jimmy Haslam's ear. They've fixed that now, where John Dorsey is Freddie Kitchens' boss. That is good. I do think it's possible that maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit on John Dorsey being the end-all, be-all savior. This is the right guy for this. He was set up in a lot of ways to succeed with the draft capital and the salary cap space they've had, and he has executed that pretty well so far. But now we're going to get into like a time when, like, all right, they're ready for this. There's a lot of things in place for the Browns to win, and now can he hold it together? Remember that John Dorsey's a guy who did get fired in Kansas City. It wasn't because he couldn't evaluate talent. They liked the way he could evaluate talent. It was more about running the organization from top to bottom and getting along with people and doing those kind of things. So I think they're in a great spot. I think the Browns clearly are in a better spot than they've been, but that's almost impossible to not be better because it's been on fire for so long. But I do think we maybe have to hold back a little bit on thinking it's 100% fixed until we see how John Dorsey does sort of maintaining things now that it's kind of built a little bit.
Doug Lesmerises, we appreciate the insight. As always, Doug Lesmerises, columnist from cleveland.com. Stick around when we return to more sports and less Levine, the weekend winners edition. We'll head out to Goodyear, Arizona, and hear from MLB Indians beat reporter Mandy Bell. More sports and less Levine, weekend winners edition. Will be right back.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, it has a higher insulation rating than carpet and is warmer than linoleum, vinyl, wood, or tile.
Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home. Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
Welcome back to more sports and less Levine, the weekend winners edition. I'm Dave Bacon. Tomorrow we will hear those outstanding words that we've been waiting for, play ball. Let's head down to Goodyear, Arizona. Welcome in the Indians beat reporter from MLB.com, Mandy Bell. Mandy, welcome to the Indians. We appreciate you joining us. Cactus League play gets underway tomorrow. What are you most interested in seeing?
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, everything starts to get underway tomorrow, finally. I'm super excited to be able to finally start covering some games down here. But I think everybody is excited to be able to see Leonys Martin return to the field again. After last year and last August, after only playing 6 games with the Indians after being traded to Cleveland, had this life-threatening bacterial infection that, I mean, life-threatening was no joke. He was in bad condition. And just 6 months later, taking full batting practice, doing everything, like it doesn't even seem like he missed a beat. He hasn't been able to take the smile off of his face since he got back to spring training. And I think everyone's just excited to see him back on the field. So I think that's something that everybody, his teammates, Terry Francona, everybody on the staff, and all fans are excited to be able to see. Other than that, it seems there's going to be a lot of position battles, especially in the outfield this year. So there's going to be a lot to watch out for as these games get underway.
And we probably won't see Francisco Lindor, at least in the beginning of the regular season. So here's what the lineup looks like. You mentioned a lot of young guys battling for positions. I know there really hasn't been a whole lot of full squad workouts down there. Have you heard any buzz, though, about anybody that's fighting for a position?
Yeah, I mean, like you can see from this lineup, there's Jordan Luplow, there's Greg Allen, there's Tyler Naquin. All these guys are going to be fighting for the corner outfield spots. Now, Terry Francona told us earlier this week that he sat down with Greg Allen in their one-on-one meetings to start spring training and said that he's going to be playing all three positions whenever he goes through all these games, just in fairness to him, to make sure that he's seen in every possible position so that he has every possible chance to make the team. I think there's going to be a lot of people bopping back and forth between positions. Jake Bowers is one that's going to be back between first base and left field. They have a lot of different options at different spots. It seems like it's going to be like Greg Allen and Jordan Luplow, maybe going after left field a little bit more. Leonis Martin is definitely a lock in center field. Jason Kipnis a lock at second. And Jose Ramirez a lock at third. While Lindor is out, Francona said that we could see Max Moroff, we could see Yu Chang for sure at shortstop. So there's definitely going to be some other options. Ryan Flaherty at short. It looks like that they're going to be staying in-house if Lindor is not okay to start the beginning of the year. If he's not back in time for opening day, it doesn't seem like they're going to be making any free agent signings when I was talking to Chris Antonetti earlier this week. So I think Yu Chang has a good shot at getting some reps at shortstop if Lindor is not okay for opening day.
Now, the Indians did address their bullpen, and they got another pretty good veteran arm in Tyler Clippard recently. It looks like they have a number of options to get the ball to Brad Hand, their closer. So that's a great job by the front office of getting a number of guys to fill that void from a really good starting rotation to a pretty good closer. They have to be happy with all the options they have in that bullpen now.
Oh, they're definitely extremely happy. We were talking to Francona yesterday, and he was just saying how difficult it is whenever you have so many arms now to make some hard choices whenever it comes down to paring it down to a 25-man roster. Is he upset that he has these hard decisions? No, because at the beginning of the offseason, there was a lot of talk saying that the bullpen was one of their biggest weaknesses. But I think the front office has been able to find a way to get these guys like Alex Wilson and Tyler Clippard, even an A.J. Cole style of an option, on minor league deals. And Francona was just noting yesterday how impressive it's been. And if you can get these guys on minor league deals, definitely it's only a positive for the teams. It may not be as much for the player who feels like they should be on a major league contract. But he told all three of those guys in his one-on-one meetings that label means nothing when it comes to making the squad. So they have a history of breaking camp with some non-roster guys. And Francona said that probably to expect that again this year. But they definitely have a plethora of options now. And can't forget about Brad Hand, because he's at least established himself already as one of the elite back-end arms in the game. So the bullpen isn't in as bad of a condition as people wanted to believe it was at the beginning of the offseason.
Well, anytime you lose a Cody Allen and a Andrew Miller, there's going to be some concern. But I think they've done a nice job. You've covered the Orioles. You've covered the Yankees for MLB in the past. What about this rotation? And what is it viewed like across baseball?
Goodness, this rotation, it has the potential to be the best in the league. You have Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Mike Clevenger, obviously all had standout years last year, and now a Shane Bieber type who has some experience under his belt. And Francona, just anytime you mention his name, it just seems like he can't help himself but smile because of his excitement level for what Bieber can bring to the mound this year. There's no secret that the Indians really, really like this guy, and they are very excited to see what he could do this year. He's been saying that he's been working on his changeup all off season, and he's pleased with how it's gone so far. So to be able to add that into the mix, Francona and Bieber were both saying this week that they think that that'll allow him to get deeper into the game and maybe get through that lineup one more time. But goodness, across the league, I don't think it's any secret that this rotation has the chance to be absolutely dominant.
Mandy Bell, welcome to Cleveland, and we look forward to you. You can read Mandy Bell, MLB.com. She is the new Indians beat writer. Thanks so much for joining us from spring training in Goodyear, Arizona.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
And again, Mandy Bell, the new beat reporter for the Indians on MLB.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. When we return, the Monster Cup Energy, and it's a local driver. Matt Tifft joins us as he's getting ready for this weekend's race in Atlanta. More sports and Les Levine. The Weekend Winners Edition will be right back.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Welcome back to More Sports and Les Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. NASCAR fans, we have a local driver in the Cup Series that you can now cheer for. We will welcome in Matt Tifft, who is getting ready to compete in a race in Atlanta. Matt, appreciate the time very much. I know you're busy getting ready for the race this weekend. Tell me a little bit about the dream that came true last weekend, the Daytona 500. That's what everybody who drives a stock car dreams of doing. You did it last weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, really. Last weekend being a part of the Daytona 500 has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid and grew up a NASCAR fan. So it was a great experience. Unfortunately, we got caught up in the big one, which looms at Daytona. You never know when it's quite going to hit, but it was certainly an awesome experience. And to get my first Cup start there and my first Daytona 500 was really special. So we certainly made it close to the end there, but it wasn't the end result we wanted. But the whole experience was just awesome. And, we got another one this weekend, though. That's the great thing about it is you get to rebound and come back quickly. So we're here in Atlanta. We'll be racing on Sunday. So it turns around quick. So you get those peaks and valleys, you got to smooth them out because there's all kinds of ups and downs in this sport.
Now, Matt is from Hinckley, Ohio, a 2014 graduate of Highland High School. How does a kid from Highland High School get interested in being a NASCAR driver? And you moved quickly through the ranks.
Yeah, so my dad, he owned a race car up in Michigan, and his family was from up there. So we go up and watch the dirt races over there, kind of on summer vacations and stuff. We'd take trips up there. So I got my early interest then when I was probably 5 or 6, just going to the track, and we started going to some of the Cup races down at Homestead, Miami, in around 2003. So we started going once every year, and I just loved it. And then they had a trial over at the Barberton Speedway. And they had some go-karts over there you could go and try out. So I was probably 10 or 11. I begged my parents to go let me do it. And I did it. And they're like, hey, this is really something you should look into doing. And so, went into go-kart racing, started at Barberton and Thompson over by Dragway 42. And did that for a few years, did the regional and national ranks of it and won some races. And kind of looked for that next step of, hey, where do we go from here? Because there's actually road course go-karts. So I always wanted to get to the circle track side. So I did a little bit of dirt racing, but I transitioned over to asphalt and raced down in Florida and the Great Lakes and Wisconsin area. And so from that point on, just kind of did the late model stuff, again, local, regional, national level, and eventually moved up into the ARCA series and some of the lower divisions of NASCAR and worked our way up here to the top of the racing, series here. So it's pretty crazy how fast it's gone, but it's certainly been quite a ride.
Now you drive the car number 36. Is there any significance to that number? If so, what is it?
Yeah, so the 36 number, our team, Front Row Motorsports, they had the 34 and the 38 car before, so it kind of fit in the sequence of numbers. But also, my mentor for many years was Kenny Schrader, and I raced for him in the ARCA Racing Series, and he was a former Cup Series driver. And so he actually had the number 36 back in the day. So even though it wasn't chosen by me, it was pretty cool to, still be running his number here today. And, to whatever your number is, it's pretty special to have that be your Cup number, the one you represent, and all the guys that put the hard work in behind it.
Let's talk a little bit about what you went through in 2016. A scary thing anytime you hear, brain tumor it's a scary thing. You were out of racing, but only for, 3-4 months. Take me through what that was like and how you came back and what you like doing now because of, what you went through.
Sure. Yeah. So in 2016, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and I had symptoms coming up periodically, and it eventually just became an everyday thing to where I had bad migraines and light sensitivity and these weird voices and stuff I'd hear. But the thing that got me the most was that I was starting to take, 5 or 6 Excedrin a day, and it was just kind of getting to the point where it's just too much. And I was kind of asking questions of why that was going on. So I actually got in a wreck for a back injury and was going to get an MRI. I talked to the doctor about, hey, maybe I could get this checked out while I'm here. And so he had me stay in MRI, and sure enough, there was a brain tumor there and was diagnosed with it. And at that point, I was pulled out of the race car and had a $half-dollar-sized tumor taken out of my head and went through a really tough recovery process. Even though it was only 3 months, it was just kind of excruciating the process of just relearning everything I did, from going to a restaurant or going to a mall, hearing music. It would just have the feeling of imprinting into my head where that part was cut out. So it was really tough, just kind of relearning everything and how my body would respond to it. And it took about a year for me to really feel like I was back to me. So the great thing is now, though, I'm coming up on 3 years since then in July. So I've been given a clean bill of health. I get an MRI checkup about once every year, but it's certainly been great, the recovery process. And now I've become an advocate for brain tumor research and awareness, and have gone to Capitol Hill and talked to congressmen and women about getting funding for research and awareness for brain tumors and trying to get more treatments for those who are affected by them.
Matt, we appreciate the time. We'll let you get back. I know you've got some practice to do and some things to do. Make a deal with you. First top 10 finish, okay. You come back on and we talk about it. Good enough?
That's fine. You got to take me to B-Spot, though, too.
All right. You're on. Matt Tifft, we appreciate the time so much. Good luck this Sunday in Atlanta as Matt Tifft from Highland. Now a Cup driver, the highest level of NASCAR. He's from Hinckley, Ohio. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. When we return, some interesting facts about some folks and the reason they wear their jersey numbers in the Mid-American Conference. More sports and Les Levine. The Weekend Winners Edition will be right back.
Did you know that Kentucky is home to nearly 1,000 species of wildlife?
The Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife has a team of scientists dedicated to the monitoring and study of animals that are not hunted, fished, or trapped.
We work every day to improve Kentucky's landscape so that these species can thrive.
And now there's a way for you to jump in and help.
When you become a member of Kentucky Wild, we'll work side by side and do our part to keep Kentucky wild.
Welcome back to More Sports and Les Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. Time for our weekly dose of Maction. Numbers, the uniform numbers of players. Sometimes they have some deep meaning and sometimes it's just kind of fun. This week we take a look at some of the numbers from the Mid-American Conference basketball players.
When I got here, Russell Westbrook was my favorite player, so that was one part of the reason. And another part of the reason, it was 0 people where I'm from to play at the level I played at. So I wanted to just take that number and take that reference and just take it on my own.
Well, when I first got here, Coach Owens, he first got the job here last year, so I was the first person he offered, and when I came on my visit, he just gave me number 1.
Okay, so I think my jersey number is actually fate. So when I was younger, I was this size when I was in the 4th grade. I'm not lying or exaggerating. So I got the big girl number and that ended up being 24. But then as I got older, I got pushed to the really big girl numbers, which was in the 40s. But then when I got into high school, I went back to 24 and my birthday is actually February 4th.
I was 41 my first 2 years, and then Zach Hollywood, my best friend, committed suicide, and that was his number. So I asked his family, is it okay if I wear it? And that was my number last year, and that will be my number this year.
So in high school, the starting 5 on our team wanted to be numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I picked number 3, and it stuck.
I wear number 5.
because when I was in high school, I didn't have an AAU team to play for, and I ended up finding this team called DJH5, which actually stands for Deion Jackson Houston, and he wore number 5. He was my coach's son. He died in a train wreck. He was driving the car, and the train T-boned him, and he passed away.
I would say my brother, because I watched my brother play since I was little, and he always wore number 1, so I just wanted to be just like my brother.
My dad grew up playing basketball, and he taught me everything that I know. He put a ball in my hand when I was like 3, and his number was 13 as well, so I play for him.
I got my jersey number. It's weird because my birthday is on 12/25/1996, so Christmas. So 12, 1 + 2 is 3, and 2 - 5 is 3, and then 96, 9 - 6 is 3, so yeah, it's weird.
But it was also, my mom played for a year in college, and that was her number, and it's also the day of my birthday.
Well, I wanted to be number 25. You know, that was my dad's favorite number. He also liked number 5, and he wore number 5 when he was in high school when he played. So, you know, I just took on that number, and I wear it, you know, as a reputation of him.
We are all out of time on this edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition, but stay right here. Coming up, Bill Castrovince joins me for the High School Sports Insider. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Keep it simple.
Leaders lead. Leaders lead.
Let's go! Stop whining!
Again, go again, yes! You gotta rotate, go, Stone!
The High School Sports Insider is brought to you by Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. By the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. By Spectrum News 1, always Ohio, always refreshing, always on, exclusively on Spectrum. By Dominion East Ohio, Dominion, it all starts here. And by Classic Teleproductions. March is closing in, but the madness has already begun for high school athletes. New state champions are being crowned, and basketball on both the boys and girls side is in tournament mode. A great time to hop on board this edition of the High School Sports Insider, along with Bill Castrovince. I'm Dave Bacon.
On today's show, we've got a double dose of B's with a dynasty on the mat and a big-time scorer on the court. Plus, we'll travel to the Panthers' den, meet a Bulldog who can play 3 sports, and check in on Scary Terry.
We begin tonight on the hardwood. The Aurora Greenmen earned the top seed in the Division I Ravenna District. The Greenmen are led by Cheyenne and Shayla Sellers, Division I college prospects with a proud NBA father. Cheyenne and Shayla Sellers are Cuyahoga Community College student athletes with a future. Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. Teammates call them Shay and Shy. Opponents find out they're double trouble. The Sellers sisters have been creating havoc for Aurora High School's opponents all season long.
They are a matchup nightmare because they both play like guards. So if they put a little on them, we try and post them up, we ISO it, and we try and get them in the post. And if they play big on them, then we spread it and we drive it. So they really are a matchup nightmare. A lot of teams have started zoning us, but you know, Cheyenne can really stroke it from the outside. So can Shay. So when we're on, it's really hard for teams to defend us at all.
Both 6'1" sophomore Cheyenne Sellers and 6' senior Shayla will be Division I college players. They are the 2 youngest daughters of former NBA player Brad Sellers.
It's good. We played with each other when I was in 5th grade and she was in 3rd grade, so it's been a while since we actually haven't played together. So the beginning of it was like kind of weird. We're like, oh, we hadn't found our groove, but then we eventually found it, and it's really fun.
It's pretty sweet, and I don't know. I think everyone wishes they could have like this moment with like their sibling, and I'm just lucky to have it. It's pretty awesome. I know I have someone to lean to like after games and stuff like that, so it's pretty cool. It's gonna suck when she leaves next year.
Like any siblings, the Sellers are competitive, but it always seems to mean good things for Aurora. The Green Men were 21-1 in the regular season and are hoping for a deep playoff run.
Shay and Shy are really close together. They're very competitive, and so we always team them up against each other, and so they're always guarding each other, and so sometimes it can get pretty physical and they're jawing at each other, but at the end of the day, I mean, they love each other, and and they work well together, and they play off each other really well. I think they're enjoying their experience.
Me and my sister are like 6-foot guards, so it's really either you put someone small on us or you put someone big on us, and either way we blow by them. So
I think she does a nice job, like getting people open and getting us looks. Like she'll have really good passes to me or even the other girls. So I think she does a good job distributing the ball and incorporating everyone into the offense. So it's not just like the Cheyenne Sellers, it's just everyone's incorporated.
The basketball advice from dad to daughters was about being a complete player.
I think defense comes down to it. You have to play good defense or you have to read the defense on offense. It's just it always relies on a defensive aspect, and your offense can be great one night, but if your defense is awful, it's another road.
She's a really smart player. She loves basketball, so she watches it constantly. And so, that is an aspect that's missing for some kids, but she really sees the floor, she understands, she knows where to go. There's times at practice she's like, Coach, why don't we do this? I'm like, yeah, good idea, let's do that. So she just really, really gets it. So does Shayla. Shayla really sees the floor well and understands the game, and Shay's main thing is defense.
Brecksville won its first state title in gymnastics in 1994. The Bees then went back-to-back in 2001 and 2002. But these days, they have been downright dominant. Head coach Joan Ganem and the girls have won 15 straight state championships and counting. Coming off their most emotional season yet, can the Bee streak continue? Let's find out in this week's Team of the Week. The Brecksville gymnastics team competed with a heavy heart last year when longtime coach Ron Ganem passed away. But Mr. G must have been watching. The Bees won their 15th straight state title, and freshman Caitlin Demby finished third in the all-around.
It was like the best feeling in the world, just like being there with the team and like helping out and everything. And we all did good as a team, and we all just helped each other through it.
If the Bees streak is going to turn Sweet 16 this year, a talented freshman class must step up, even though they weren't even born when it began.
I think it's really cool that this team's been winning for so many years, and I'm just really glad to be a part of it and try to keep winning and keep the streak. I remember in 6th grade, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on the Brecksville team someday. So that kind of motivated me to work hard so we could keep winning.
There are a total of 5 freshmen on this year's team who are used to competing as individuals. But now, in high school, the team comes first.
A lot of gymnasts get down on themselves because they expect so much, and then when they don't perform how they want, it's upsetting. But the lessons that they have to learn is that this is for the team.
It's definitely a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of fun because you kind of get to help lead the team and teach the traditions to the younger gymnasts and help them become more confident in themselves.
And everyone's goal is the same: win the 19th state championship overall and keep the Bees buzzing.
You don't know when that streak's going to end. I mean, it's going to come to an end somewhere. But we've just been very lucky. We've had good athletes come through, and even on the years when I didn't think we'd do well, and I've talked to you about that before, they put it together, and I think it's the tradition that motivates them, that they want to keep it going, the streak.
Also, a Brecksville gymnast has won the all-around competition in 8 of the last 12 years, including the last 6 in a row. We'll see how they do this weekend.
We're just getting this week's show off the ground. When we return, a look at a shining star on the court and in the classroom, and a Bee who's worked hard to make his senior season a successful one. The High School Sports Insider will be right back.
The best thing Tri-C did for me was give me opportunities. The workforce program prepared me for the career I have now. I got a job in the aerospace industry where I work on CNC machines. I have 3 younger brothers. I want to teach my brothers, hard work actually pays off. Come to Tri-C. It's a great stepping stone to wherever you're trying to get to in life. My name is Chris Grooms, and I got my start at Tri-C.
The High School Sports Insider rolls along. Thanks for riding shotgun with us. Kenny Ganley has been a 4-year starter for the Brecksville Bees varsity basketball team. Ganley had to overcome a shoulder injury heading into his senior season, but he's seeing all of his hard work pay off where it matters most, on the court. Ganley recently became part of the 1,000-point club a couple of weeks ago and accepted a Division I college scholarship. Now Kenny's getting ready to lead Brecksville in the upcoming state basketball tournament. Kenny Ganley, our Spectrum News 1 Game Breaker. On the basketball court, Brecksville's number 4 is always moving, always working, and it's not just on game days. Kenny Ganley has been starting for the Bees since his freshman year, and he's left an impression on his head coach.
Just getting better every single year. That kid works. When you talk about a kid that's in a gym and what he had to go through last year with the torn labrum and the surgery, that doesn't usually happen to high school kids. And he just keeps working, keeps grinding, and his best days are ahead of him.
Ganley missed all of the offseason before this, his senior year, due to a shoulder injury. But Kenny worked his way back to form and recently surpassed the 1,000-point mark in his career. He's a senior leader on a talented young Bees team.
It's very important for me as a senior to be a leader, to the younger guys especially, because we're a young team. So yeah, just leading them the right way. Just like handling the ball, you know, setting my teammates up, you know, talking on defense, doing whatever I can to help them out.
Even while rehabbing his shoulder, Ganley was still able to add some elements to his game that are paying off now that he's healthy.
This year I'd say attacking the rim probably. Last year I didn't really get to the rim, it was mostly from the outside, but attacking the rim I think I've improved my game on.
And what are you working on? Some of the things you want to even get better at?
Yeah, always shooting, of course, defense, and all-around game, really. I mean, you can't be the best at one certain thing, so I'm trying to improve on everything.
He's special because he can do so many things. And sometimes we get caught up, you know, which one should we try? I mean, he can post up, he can offensive rebound, he can break people down off the dribble, he can, you know, shoot off the bounce, shoot off the catch. We've been kind of spoiled. And I think, you know, in about a month here, when the season's over, we're going to really miss what we've had for the last 4 years. I mean, there's another one. Kenny played, you know, starting as a freshman for us.
Ganley accepted a scholarship to continue his basketball career and education at Youngstown State, where his current coach knows he'll be successful.
For college, he's going to have to, you know, always handle the ball better, shoot the ball better. Just a little bit, everything he does now, just take it up a notch, because where he's going to go next year at Youngstown State, they're all going to be a little bit taller, a little bit longer, and you know, he's got a really good game right now. Just do everything a little bit better.
We continue with a young basketball star who can do just about anything. Peyton Sherry is a sophomore at East Palestine High School, which is in Columbiana County near Youngstown. And yet she's impressive in school, sports, and the community. That's why Peyton Sherry is this week's Ohio Lottery Partners in Education Shining Star. Peyton Sherry is a sophomore who has a senior-sized resume.
My family, like my mom and my dad, really told me when I was younger that you need to have high goals for yourself so you could accomplish them and like strive for them.
For example, Sherry is a starting point guard on East Palestine's varsity basketball team.
It meant a lot just to be able to come out and do so well with all the other girls on the team. We all work together really well.
Every summer workout we have, she's here. If we do 2 a day, she's here. If we shoot in the morning, she's here. So she doesn't miss, and she's committed to it. That's why she earned that spot.
Her freshman year, Peyton decided to try golf. Even though the school didn't have a girls team, she played alongside the boys and recently earned all conference honors.
For her being the only girl, like playing on the team, and then really being new at it, I think added some pressure, and golf's a very mental game anyway, so I think she did really well for it.
Her plan is to run track in the spring while keeping up with her grades. Sherry owns a 4.7 GPA in all honors classes.
She manages to find the time to get everything done that she needs to. It's always done with perfection. I mean, I don't think she probably has above 100% in my class, which is kind of an awesome thing.
In her spare time, Peyton volunteers to help the elementary and middle school kids.
I try to put myself in their position. as when I was younger, if I was the only girl at camp that wasn't with her friends, I would want someone to help me out.
From the court to the classroom, Peyton Sherry is a true shining star.
Well, it means a lot to me because it's a lot of hard work to get it all done. And with balancing sports, and it's a lot of time to get everything and manage it all and still get good grades while still doing good in sports.
If you know a student who shines in the classroom like Peyton, go to OhioLottery.com. Look for the About section. In there, you'll find the Supporting Education tab, which has all the information you need.
If you missed some of today's show or want to see past episodes, they're online and free. What a deal, I know. Head to citybeat-tv.com. That's citybeat-tv.com.
Still to come, we'll travel to my alma mater, Euclid, and check in on the Panthers. And our Insider Classic has become a star in Beantown. Stay tuned.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Thanks for hanging with us on this edition of the High School Sports Insider. The Euclid Panthers have a nice mix of speed, athleticism, and size. Junior point guard Garvin Clark is the man that makes the Panthers' running show go. Euclid is trying to carry on their strong play over into the state tournament, where they earned the #2 seed in the Solon District. We have an all-access look at the Euclid Panthers as they prepare to enter the tournament trail. Coaches repeatedly tell their players they want to be playing their best basketball as tournament time approaches. And it appears this year the Euclid Panthers have gotten the message. Since the first of the year, Euclid's only losses have come to Mentor and state-ranked Villa Angela St. Joe's.
We run the floor well. We set our offense up. Because, I mean, as you can see, we got a lot of big men, so most of our plays go to the big men. Defensively, we got to work on man-to-man defense, staying in the help side. Transition gonna come regardless, but we got to work on help side.
Euclid is definitely big and very athletic. The Panthers earned the 2nd seed in the very competitive Division I Solon District.
What makes us different from every other high school team is that, and we struggle at times. Teams spread us out. We haven't shot it very well the first couple of games, but I think we found a couple guys off the bench to start doing the stuff we want defensively. So now they're out there and they get to shoot it. But if you ask me the one thing, it's obviously our size. You see us, we're a very big high school basketball team.
And athletic.
Yeah, and they're not lumbering down there on the block. These guys could go up and get a rebound, and they can run the floor, put some pressure on the defense.
We got plenty of guys. We got me, we got Octavius, we got Reggie, we got KC, we got all these athletic guys, Garvin, our point guard. We all got better ever since last year. And, we just getting better every game, one step at a time.
Lacey has developed into a force inside in his first year, getting significant playing time as a senior. And he did it with plenty of sweat and hard work.
That's all him. People are like, oh, you did a great job with him. I didn't do anything. That kid locked himself in the gym. That's his work ethic. He's at a 3.8 GPA. It's just the kind of kid he is. He comes from 2 great parents. He's got a great support system at home, and he's not a kid you have to worry about doing the right things.
Mario Lacey and Garvin Clark give the Panthers a nice inside-out combination that can run the floor and are tough to match up against.
It's the same thing, like if he score, I get the steals, I get the blocks, he score, we just take turns and dominate.
There's definitely a point of emphasis that the Panthers will remind each other as the games become more and more important.
3 of our losses, we were up 10 points. And as the other team came back, we kind of everyone was looking for someone else to make a play. And in our league, 10 points is nothing. The schedule we play, teams are going to come back, and, I try to push that issue that, guys, we get up 10. If we get down 10, it doesn't matter. It's just the teams in our league. So it's that, just kind of the way we react to adversity sometimes.
Let's dig into the archives for this week's Insider Classic. Basketball fans in Shaker Heights have a reason to watch the Boston Celtics. Former Red Raider star Terry Rozier is in his 4th season in the NBA. A first-round pick out of Louisville, Scary Terry has stepped in at point guard anytime Kyrie Irving has been injured. He even scored a season-high 26 points against the Cavaliers in January. But let's go back to 2012 as Terry Rozier becomes an Insider Classic.
Terry Rozier was a pretty good player in 7th grade. By 8th grade, nobody on the court was better. And the Shaker coaches knew they had something special.
We had high hopes of him playing varsity right out the gate, and he did. During his freshman year, he only played JV maybe 8 games, and after that we brought him up, and then from there, he just kept getting better and better and better.
They believe they trusted me ever since I was a freshman, so I think that's said enough. So I was like 5'6". They showed that they cared about me and they just wanted me to step up.
Now 6'1", Rozier is in the hunt for Mr. Basketball honors. His stock soared last summer when he shined in AAU, the LeBron James Skills Academy, and the Nike Global Challenge. But he's kept his head in check.
I got to be the best on the floor. That's what people make it seem. But, you know, I just try to just relax myself before the game and just have fun. That's most important.
A lot of schools recruited Rozier, but the minute Louisville got in the mix, it was an easy choice.
I asked him one day, I said, what's your dream school and what's your goal once you get to Shaker Heights High School? He always said he wanted to be a Cardinal.
His other goal is to meet his idol, and he kind of did on Twitter. Rozier got a shout-out tweet from Dwayne Wade in November. And Terry's done a pretty good imitation of Wade on and off the court.
He's not just a player that just, you know, get the fancy dunks in the game. He's a good person. Like off the court, he got a Wade's World Foundation. You know, he looks out for kids. So he's a great person, and I like that.
He keeps a level head on the basketball court. Even in the midst of just not scoring, he still kept a level head.
We want you to get more involved in the show, and you can through social media. Follow us on Twitter. We're at HS Sports Insider and at Dave Bacon Sports. Tweet us your story ideas or pictures or videos showing your school spirit. We'll use them in a future show. We're still plugging away on Facebook as well. Head to our page and like us. We're at High School Sports Insider.
Meanwhile, the tweets of the week are coming up next.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
I dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education. I dare you to be somebody important. Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star. I dare you to stand up here. To call the shots. To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher. Be my teacher. Think you can change my life? Make me excited about science like you? Have a career that really means something? Then do it. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I'm waiting.
Welcome back inside the High School Sports Insider. We've come to that time of the show where you get to add your 2 cents. We're always on the lookout for outstanding performances, crazy plays, or high school kids just having fun. That's where you come in. When you see something like that happening, you have to let us know about it. A few rules: you have to use 280 characters or less. Pictures or video, even better. It's time for the tweets of the week. Congrats to University of Texas diving commit Janine Boyle. She repeats as the Division II state diving champ and set a state record doing so. The Hoban girls hoop team a perfect 22-0 during the regular season for the first time in school history. Division III sectional semifinals, Portsmouth and Portsmouth West. Michael McKinley, a nice spin move and a soft touch. Portsmouth beats West by a point. Circleville down 1, 6 seconds left. DJ Pickett over a defender, he plays beat the clock and wins. Circleville a 58-57 winner. Keep those tweets coming. We want your story ideas or pictures or video showing your school spirit. Tweet those to us. We're at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSI Ohio. Again, that's at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSI Ohio. We'll use a few of them on upcoming shows as the tweets of the week. We are officially all out of time on this week's show. Before we go, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope to see you back here next week, same time, same place. When again, we'll have some of the best high school sports stories from all across Ohio.
And as always, thanks for supporting high school athletics. Have a great night.